and mortar. Farewell to your dirty lies. Farewell to your gangways and your gangplanks. To hell with your overtime. And the good ship Ragamuffin, she's lying on the quay. For a takeout Pat put a shovel on his back to the shores of Botany Bay.
Well, welcome back to segment 3 of Your Questions, My Answers, episode number 39. And this part of the show is brought to you by CigarMany.com. If you head over to CigarMany.com, you're going to find lots of cigar accessories and some apparel that Mark does a fantastic job of selling and providing an incredible level of customer service that you really aren't going to get anywhere else. Mark's a great guy, and we love supporting him here on Stogie Review. Also, while you're shopping over at Cigar Many, if you use the coupon code SR2008, Mark will knock 5% off your order. So just another reason to support those that support us. And with that said, that leads us into our first discussion topic of the evening. And it's been a bit of a hotbed of discussion as of late. Tons and tons of drama. And there's been people asking us about what we think of it, so I thought, why not touch on it? And that is the buyout of Cigar Live Club Stogie, top 25 cigar. And actually, I think that's it. CigarReview.com, the deal fell through. They will not be purchasing that one. So there's a lot going on with what's going to happen with Cigar Live and Club Stogie, and I've been keeping up with it because it's like a car crash. You drive past it on the highway and you can't help but look. It's been pretty brutal as of late. Actually, it's been pretty brutal since it all started. So there's quite a bit to talk about. And Brian, what do you think this is going to do to the community? Do you think this is something that's good for the community in the sense that it's going to bring everyone together, or do you think it's just going to fail miserably?
Well, I'm a little skeptical. I think eventually it'll work out, but I think that in the meantime there's going to be quite a bit of attrition. I think what's going to happen is a lot of the Amat is up on it on Club Stogie, and I haven't been really keeping up to date as much as I should on Cigar Live. Just don't have time with everything else I'm doing, and actually working to keep things happening in the fan forum on our own site. So. But yeah, I've been trying to keep up on it, checking in on it from time to time, and I think that it's really alienating a lot of people, and I think what's really doing it, and here's the thing, I think it would have gone over better if the guy buying it, I think his name is Joe,
John Caputo.
John Caputo. Okay, if John had if what he decided on doing, he picked a. He's going to merge all of this into puff.com, apparently, and a lot of folks are not very happy with the name. A lot of people, the people in the Club Stogie, have a soft spot in their heart for the name Club Stogie, and same with the Cigar Live people. I'm thinking that what would have gone over better, and it may have been a little bit of technical hurdles to actually handle it, is if he may have been able to handle all of the additions to the site and handle a lot of the back-end stuff, merge it all onto this puff.com domain, but allow people to continue to sign in and access the site through the respective URL, so people can still... some of these people are technical, some of these people aren't, and if they have the same way of getting in, if it's visually not really different for them, then it would have probably gone over better. But what I think the end result of this is going to be is it's alienated a lot of the members who've been on there for a while, unfortunately. And I think what's going to happen is they're probably gonna leave, and forums like ours and forums that this John fellow doesn't own may benefit as a result of that. They may see a spike in. I heard the Cigar Family actually from somebody. I heard that it crashed for a while because of the volume of people signing up on the forum. So, I'm kind of... It looks like it's already happening, and I've noticed there's been a spike of registrations for the Stogie Review fan forum. So, I think a little bit of that's going to happen. But I think in the end, what's really going to happen is the people who are really, pissed off about it, the people who are upset about it, are going to leave, and the people... and most people will probably just deal and evolve with the site as it evolves, and there'll be more people who grow, and eventually it'll be something that's forgotten, and it'll probably wind up being the largest cigar forum out there. Now the thing is it's not even though it's being consolidated under the one website. Apparently, there's going to be a couple of clubhouses, and you only have access to the quote-unquote clubhouses that correspond to where you had a user. So, for instance, if you were a Club Stogie user, you would only have access to the Club Stogie clubhouse. So, a little bit more confusing. It's kind of it strikes me as a very odd way of doing things, but I don't know. I think that it'll probably work out, but I think it's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings in the process. I don't necessarily. I mean, it seems like the end of an era for me. So I'm a little nostalgic and a little kind of, I don't know, a little sad about it. I kind of hate to see it happen, but I mean, these things happen. I mean, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, the only consistent thing in life is that everything will change eventually. So that's how it goes. And I think some people will benefit from it. For example, the Cigar Family Forum and our fan forum, and some people won't. I don't know. So I don't really, I don't have strong antagonistic feelings against it, aside from being a little kind of have a wistful feeling of bye-bye Cigar Live, bye-bye Club Stogie, that sort of thing. Aside from that, it's I don't really have any. I'm fairly neutral. I'm Sweden here, or Switzerland. What do you think, Walt?
Well, I've got to make a correction already because I made a mistake on my notes. Cigar Live, Club Stogie, Cigar-Review.com, and Top 25 were purchased. The deal that fell through was CigarSmokers.com. Now that I got that straightened out, what I think on the whole situation? Well, I certainly don't think it's going to be the best thing that the community's seen in a while. I'm very skeptical about it, and reading through both these threads on Club Stogie and Cigar Live, you hear people saying, well, this forum is so awesome that, John couldn't possibly break it up, and, don't worry about that, it's not going to be a problem. And to be honest with you, I think those people are being naive. And then shortly after, it was announced that they're going to be consolidated into one. Well, exactly what did you think was going to happen? This guy purchased up these forums, and if he could make enough money off of these forums as it is now to make up for the initial buyout, why wouldn't the owners just hold on to it and continue to make that money over and over again? So there's a reason. He's going to consolidate the forums, he's going to leverage his advertising, and he's going to make money off the deal. Now, I don't fault anyone for selling any product. It's their product to do with, and if they want to sell it, they want to sell it. I mean, someone like Paul from Club Stogie's been doing this for 12 years. After a while, it's going to start to get old, and all the time that you invested in it, and all the effort, and the frustration and anguish, there comes a point in time when you get an offer and you accept it. And I don't fault either Daniel or Paul, or I think his name's Kevin from Cigar Review, for doing that. What I do have a problem with is the cookie cutter explanation that they all gave. This is better for the community, this is this is that. I don't buy it. If you sold out because you just couldn't deal with it anymore, or you thought it was time for you to move on to a different project, tell me that. Don't tell me that it's the best thing for the community, because I don't buy it. Whether or not you actually thought it was best for the community or not, that's, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it that way. And I would have felt much better if they would have simply said, I had enough, I didn't want to handle it anymore, so-and-so came along. Not this just cookie cutter, it's best for the community thing. I just don't believe it. Now, if you're a big follower of any of these communities, you've seen the development already. Cigar Live has splintered off into a sub-board called CigarOutcast.com, which is run by Mitro. And a lot of the cigar community from Cigar Live is migrating over to this new forum, and Club Stogie's done the same thing. Recently, 11, count them, 11, all of their moderators have stepped down and created another forum, which is CigarAsylum.com. And the reason they were pretty upfront about it. You know, they said that we're going to stick through this merger unless someone really screws it up. And you know, you've got to think that someone really screwed it up for 11 guys to step down and move on. So there's a lot going on. There's 2 sub-boards that have grown in popularity overnight because of this whole thing. And it'll be interesting to see the way things develop. I think ultimately it's going to be better for the smaller boards because people are going to get frustrated and move on. Now, the databases from all these forums are going to be compiled into one. And basically, if you have the same username throughout, your username is going to have a -CS or a -CL or a -CR on the end of it. And those accounts will be able to access clubhouses, more or less, just as Brian said, where only the people from that forum will be able to see. They'll have like you know, they'll have the smaller home to converse with the people that they're accustomed to, rather than this massive conglomerate. So you know, that sort of keeps the peace and should keep people happy in that aspect. But there's a lot going on. No one's getting a whole lot of answers. For instance, I contacted John about Cigar Live in reference to the media outlet thing that they do. Basically, they take the Stogie Review feed and they publish it into a sub-forum. And it helps us, you know, it's a way of advertising Stogie Review, and I appreciate Daniel for doing that. When I asked John what was going to happen with that, he told me that most things are going to stay the same, and that shouldn't change. But he didn't give me a definitive answer and said, yes, it's going to stay, yes, it's going to remain free. So I just know that it may or may not be there when the merger is complete. And the name seems to be a big problem for a lot of people. They don't want to be associated with anything related to puff, whether it be marijuana, cigarettes, pipes, or whatnot. You know, they appreciated the names that they had, and now they're sort of being merged into one, and a lot of people have a lot of problems with it. And there's been a lot of interesting developments if you keep your eye out. You know, Rob from Cigar Pass was offered some money for his forum. He turned it down. He published some emails after John more or less called him a liar for saying, you know, he's trying to be a saint, more or less. So Rob published some of his emails from John jumping from $25,000 to $50,000, and Rob turned it down. So you got to think, if everyone jumped on the first offer, and Cigar Pass got got an offer for $25,000. You know, let's just assume he's the bigger fish here. I'm not saying that he is. Just assume that he is, and everyone else got offered $20,000. So let's say Daniel jumped on 20 grand, Paul jumped on 20 grand, and Cigar Review jumped on 20 grand. That's a $60,000 investment right there already. And the last I heard, Puff.com was last purchased for $75,000 or something like that, over some domain searches or something like that. So I don't know if that number is accurate. So let's just say it was another $20,000. So we're up to $80,000 already. Do you really think this guy's not going to do what he can to make his money back? He's not doing this as a hobby. And let's face the facts here and look at this realistically. If he spent $80,000, again, this is just a rough estimate, and I have no idea what he spent. But you take $80,000 and you invest it into a hobby, and you don't expect him to roll in the advertisements and try to make that money back. It doesn't make sense to me. And I'm a believer that he's in it for the money, and that if everyone wanted this to go over better, John should have been a community member before purchasing these forums. So everyone sees him as an outsider that sort of jumped in, purchased these forums, and now it's up in the air. No one knows what's going to happen. So, to make a long story short, I don't think it's very good for the community, in the sense that, you know, what Club Stogie, Cigar Live, and Cigar Review are going to get back from all this. But, you know, it was their decision, and I don't fault them for it. So, I guess the only thing we can do now is just sit back and wait and see how things develop, and ultimately look for any changes in the community. I mean, with Cigar Live, you had a lot of these smaller manufacturers that were getting advertisement, more or less, for their brand and picking up notoriety, which is probably going to fall to the wayside, because they're certainly not one of these big fish that can afford to purchase a $15,000 ad at Cigar Aficionado or whatever their full-page ad runs. So, you know, this was their outlet, and now it's probably going to be taken away from them. So there's a lot going on, and again, I'm not quite sure whether this is the best thing for the community or not, but essentially, it's the owner's decision to do what they wish with their forum. So just see how it develops and see how these splinter boards do. Whether or not they take off is yet to be seen.
Man, only 20 grand for these websites. I just have to think about the from the viewpoint of the people selling. I don't know. Maybe my point of view is a little off, but I couldn't imagine. Seriously, I could not imagine selling, for example, Stogie Review for $20,000. It's worth way more than that to me. There's just no chance. I mean, we kind of comically discussed this, or I kind of said that there's no chance I would part with Stogie Review. Whatever my portion of the ownership of Stogie Review is, unless all three of us walked away with a cool $1 million. So, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it literally, if unless you're willing to offer $3 million to buy Stogie Review, don't even talk to us, because the site means a lot to me. It really does. It's fantastic. I think we've got a good thing going here, and I don't know. I guess we're kind of a sort of a big fish when it comes to cigar review blogs, which is not I guess would be being a big fish in a mud puddle, but I always kind of think of these forums as wielding so much more potential and influence that I can't imagine parting with these things for under $100,000. I don't know. Maybe I'm off. Maybe my sense of value on things, but the incredible potential, which I can see why the guy would snap it up if you could buy Cigar Life for 20 grand. If you had that kind of money sitting around, yeah, hell yeah, jump on that. But yeah, I didn't know about all the splinter boards, and I'm thinking that that this might actually go worse than. And I didn't know about all the moderators stepping down. Was that on which board was that the 11 moderators stepped down? Was that Club Stogie or Cigar Live, Walt?
Yeah, that was Club Stogie where they stepped down, and again, that $20,000 is just an estimate. I'm basing that off of things that were published on Cigar Pass, where the max offer was 50 grand. So it's probably a low estimate, being $20,000 a piece, but it's just a starting point, I guess.
Now, to be fair to Daniel, who sold out, I know you kind of went on a riff about guys saying it's the best for the cigar community. I'm inclined to agree with you. The best thing for the cigar community probably was to maintain the status quo and watch these things grow and evolve and see where they go. The thing about business, and this really is a business decision and an activity, is it's not always about what's best for the consumer. It's usually about what's best for the people that are looking to create a more profitable business. So of course, it's the name of the game is to spin things in such a way to make it seem like you're part of the benefiting party, where really not so much. Honestly, don't see a lot of the benefit to merging these all up. So I think I agree with you on the BS. But again, to be fair to Daniel, who I know fairly well and did read a little about some of his feedback on it, he did say that his interest was getting out of this to pursue. I believe he wanted to get into more photography and writing as it pertains, I think, to cigars in general. So he wanted to get into that, and I gotta hand it to the guy. I mean, the videos and whatnot, the things that he's put up on Cigar Live in the past have been top notch, have been great stuff. So in that respect, that may turn out to be a good thing. And if it's something he's just not into, it is a lot of work. I can understand that. And being honest about that thing, about stuff like that, it does help. So yeah, but with the moderators leaving boards and stuff like that, that is kind of problematic. That'll be detrimental. But I still think, in the end say of things, I may revise my estimates on this. Winding up being the largest cigar forum out there. I think what'll happen is this will probably wind up shrinking to fit the spot of either Cigar Live or Stogie Review, but probably not really becoming in the end say of things a larger combination of the two. I think there's too many people going to leave, and if you know, with Cigar Live, they're, you know, allowing all the media outlets to publish things to the forum, and allowing the all of the manufacturers to, you know, have direct access. If that changes, and I would guess it would, if for the guy to make any return on his investment, they might have to pay to have that access. It does stand it. There is the distinct chance that that's going to make them leave. They're going to go someplace where it's, you know, friendly for them to have access. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the forum itself is going to benefit from it. I think in the end it'll shake out and it'll wind up being a forum. I don't think it's going to completely die, but I could be wrong. I mean, that's just my guesstimate. I think that when the alienated people leave, as I was saying before, new people will join. They won't have known the history, or they might not have cared, or one thing or the other. And it'll probably, I'm sure it'll continue. I don't think it's going to wind up being, you know, based upon what I've heard, I don't think now that it's going to wind up being the biggest forum out there. I'm hoping eventually the Stogie Review fan forum will be the biggest forum out there. And, of course, manufacturers are welcome to come and talk to our folks anytime they'd like. I would encourage it. So, anyway, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But my information, I'm actually learning some stuff from Walt, because I haven't been as up to date on this as I would have liked to have been, just by virtue of being busy. So, do you have any more thoughts on this, Walt?
Well, just on the sense of how these communities thrive. I mean, there's a reason why people are a member at Club Stogie and not Cigar Live. They don't like the things that go on at either forum, so they choose to be somewhere else. So you merge these two together into one style, and now where is the uniqueness? It's all one. And you know, it's a problem. And then you have moderating style too. Cigar Live is much different than Club Stogie as far as the way things are moderated and things are handled as far as banning and suspensions and stuff like that go. So where do you find a common ground? Are these, well, now it's going to be all new moderators for Club Stogie, but if it weren't and these 11 people stayed, do you really think that there would be consistency in the moderating style, or do you think this thing is just doomed to fail in that sense?
Well, I think a good part of the culture of each forum is in the moderation, you know, because it really does have an impact on what's said, how it's said, etc. So when you lose all the moderators, you've lost a huge chunk of what makes up the culture of a forum. Yeah, and you've got a new owner, you've got, you know, completely new you've got a new forum, basically. You know, they're going to run things the way they see it. The people, the FOGs, as they the effing old guys, as they're called on various forums, they're going to say, well, things ran this way, and what they're going to be told is, well, they don't run that way anymore, and so these effing old guys will go and become newbies on another forum, and, you know, grow with those other forums. So yeah, I don't have ill will towards John. You know, he's a business guy. He saw an opportunity, and it's probably a pretty good one. I mean, you know, to take over ownership of any of these. Now, in my opinion, I would have probably bought them all. I would have allowed them to continue running as is, and I might have figured out a way to better leverage advertising, etc., whatever. But you know, because the potential and the influence of these things is great enough. I mean, I think I would have been, my business point of view on it might be skewed by the fact that I'm really kind of in love with the entire industry, and just the idea of the greater amount of access to the industry just by owning one of these forums would give me, that I would probably not do as much to monetize it, and would capitalize more on just the ability to, I don't know, be with the movers and the shakers in the industry. So, I mean, I have a different perspective on it. But, I mean, I don't blame the guy, and you know, he didn't force him. He clearly said, hey, you know, here's 25, 50 grand, and can I have your site? And people said yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I hope it works out okay. I really do. and I think that it will. It's going to work out one way or the other. So I don't know. Did I answer your question, Walt? I forgot what your question was. I just started rambling.
I forget what the question was too. I started thinking about something else that you said about keeping the forums as they are. Well, obviously that's possible. There could be Club Stogie and Cigar Live could remain, and Cigar Review could remain, and I guess John could sell an advertising package that encompassed all three forums, and you would still guarantee the page views. You would probably keep a lot more people happy, and I guess that's a big possibility as far as making things stay as smooth as possible. But I don't know that that's going to happen. I think there's more advertising potential if everyone is in one place, and you can leverage the advertising that way rather than telling them, okay, you're going to get 1 million impressions here, 750,000 impressions here, and 250,000 impressions here, rather than just sort of lumping them all together and saying, okay, you get 2 million impressions at this such and such a forum or whatnot. So I don't know. I guess it could potentially work in your view, in your aspect, or in your viewpoint. But I just don't think there's the opportunity to make as much money, and that's probably why John's doing it the way he is and consolidating them.
Oh, absolutely. It would become it would be 3 times as much work. It probably would become a maintenance nightmare to maintain all three, which is why if I were, say I had 25 grand or whatever I had, and I said, hey, I want to buy a forum. Or I had 100 grand. I don't think I would have gone out and bought a bunch of forums. I think I would have bought the one, and because I liked the forum, and see, that's the difference. I mean, my goal would have been different from a pure business standpoint. His approach probably makes more sense, but from my standpoint, or what my goal would be, it would be different. It just would be something different. It would be, like I said before, just the the ability to do what you can do and have the influence that you have with a forum like that would be worth the money to own it, especially if you're only talking about that. Again, I think that if these forums were sold out for as little as 25 grand, I think that they were incredibly undervalued, and I got to applaud John for making an incredibly great value play. He picked up assets for, I think, a quarter of their value if it was only 25 grand. The potential there is amazing, and I don't know the stats on Club Stogie as much, but I know that Cigar Live was just growing by leaps and bounds. It was just phenomenal, So I don't know. He speculated. The thing is he has different things envisioned for it than I would. So. Yeah, it's sad to see these things change. I mean, I kind of like them as they were, I guess that's what it comes down to for me. So if I were going to buy any or all of them, I think I like them enough the way they are that I would probably wind up losing money in the deal.
Well, this business venture could have been bigger. As I mentioned, Cigar Pass turned down the offer. Cigar Smokers fell through. And I know that 2 cigar blogs were offered to be purchased as well, and they were turned down as well. So this could have been much bigger, and it could have encompassed, I don't know how many other people turned down the offer, but it could have been substantially larger than it already is.
So Walt, if I kind of put a value on Stogie Review. If somebody approached Stogie Review, how much would it take for you to sell the thing? And I guess I don't know if it would affect your thoughts on that versus what your relationship would be with it going forward. So I think we talked about it on Twitter at one point in time, and we were talking about, of course, my thoughts on it is the site's too valuable to me as is. I like it too much. I like being a part of it too much. I just like I like the things it allows me to do, the people it allows me to meet, too much to sell it, unless we're, like I said, we're all walking away with a cool $1 million in our pockets, And at that point, I'd be like, okay, I could see that, and then we could turn around and start up formally the StogieReview.com or something like that. So if somebody approached the Stogie Review, just hypothetically, and of course, I don't think either of us have any intent of ever selling the site in the foreseeable future. How much would it take for them to buy it from you if you were calling the shots, Walt?
You know, I really don't know. I have no idea what Stogie Review is worth, you know, in a business sense, and you know, I'm not quite sure what it's worth to me either. It's obviously it's a big time investment. It's been almost 3 years now. I spend countless hours on the site daily, so I mean, compound that over 3 years and everything else that's going on with between working to get this done and trying to leverage to manage something else. It's a tremendous time investment, and to be completely honest with you, it's been more or less a part-time job for 3 years now, or all but 3 years. So I consider my time to be valuable. So it would need to be a substantial cut for myself to even consider it. And $25,000. Again, this $25,000 is speculation based off of the Cigar Pass emails that were published, but $25,000 just wouldn't cut it. It wouldn't even be close when you add up all my time.
Yeah, that's a really good point when you think about the time involved in it. You know, everything that you've done, and I mean, yeah, you're the engine that keeps it running, basically. I gotta say, but. Jerry and I are the window dressing, I think, the extra sex appeal of the site or something. That shiny torpedo head. Anyway, yeah, that would be an interesting thing to do. I mean, the thing about a forum is, and one of the things I thought about it, and it strikes me as both brilliant and slightly I don't know, devious, is what you're really selling as a forum owner. If you sell a forum, is you're selling the work of thousands of other people over, you know, literally days and days of time. I know on our fan forum, we keep statistics on how long people are online. It's just built into the package. It's kind of fun to look at, but, you know, some people have literally been on it for a combined total of like 5 days or 6 days. Where, like, people have done like a week's worth of time just checking in and saying hey and talking about cigars and things like that, you know. Maybe not saying much more than, you know, I agree, or, you know, sometimes as much as writing a little review, you know, that sort of thing. So when you think about it, it just kind of strikes me as a little devious that what you're doing as a forum operator is you're actually selling the free product of other people's labor. So,
well, if you
5 days is actually kind of low. I mean, look at Joe and Ace's statistics. They're probably up at about a month. My time is around 5 days. There are obviously people that are very dedicated, and Ace and Joe are probably pushing a month's time by now.
You know what? You're right. I'm thinking about my time. I'm still around 4 days, and you know I'm not on there as often as I'd like to be, and sometimes I'm on there often enough that it, you know, interferes with everything else I should be doing. But yeah, I'm up around 4 days myself. You're right, and you know, those guys. I mean, those guys are at 6,000 posts at this point. Now, admittedly, a lot of it is you know, of questionable merit, but comical, but questionable. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of stuff. It's, seriously, 6,000 posts. I just hit 1,000 posts myself on it, and I think we've got a group of 5 or 6 guys that are up, you know, 1,000 or more. But Ace and Joe, yeah, 5,000 and 6,000 posts between the you know, each. So we're, you know, that's, you know, so if we were selling that, you know, how much is that time worth? You know, that's the thing. You know, that's something you're really buying when you buy a forum. Is you're buying the small efforts of a lot of people over a long period of time. So, you know, it's both brilliant and just a little devious in my point of view. But you know, hey, that's how it goes.
Well, here's some interesting statistics for you, which actually they kind of blow my mind. I logged into the forum and I'm looking at the statistics. Joe, 57 days, 23 hours, 11 minutes. Ace, 32 days, 16 hours, 32 minutes. JB, 15 days, 12 minutes. And the list goes on. 12 days, 21 hours, 10 days, 21 hours, 7 days, 7 days, 5 days, 5 days, 5 days. That's just the top 10 people that are online the most, logged into the fan forums, posting, commenting. So that's a tremendous amount of time. I had no idea Joe was up towards 2 months' time.
I think Joe literally sits on the forum all day and just he must have, you know, plenty of downtime at work. Is that guy, you know, all time day and night. If I post something, almost without fail, the first person to respond is Joe. So I mean, that guy, he is on there all the time. Yeah, but yeah, it's amazing. You know, that stuff builds up pretty quick, and that's why there's such great sources of information. And my concern would be, you consolidate this stuff. Is that information going to still be available? Because when I'm searching for information about rare cigars or stuff that's been discontinued, vintage, whatever, a lot of times the only hits I get are on forums. You know, I've yes, for searches for a lot of stuff like that, you know, I come across something rare and I'm like, wow, what is this? You know, the manufacturer no longer has information on their website. You know, sometimes the only links you get is a couple of posts in some forum somewhere. So I'm kind of hoping that stuff continues to be available, but it's possible that it won't be, you know, or it won't be unless you pay for it, or who knows. I mean, that's something that could change, and that would be kind of a shame. It really would. But yeah, you know, that's the way things go.
All right, so that was the drama update on YQMA this episode, and that was plenty of discussion on what's going on with this forum buyouts, and I think we've covered enough, and we may not need to cover it again. But that leads us to the last discussion topic of the evening, simply due to the time we've accrued so far, and that is the benefit of Twitter to cigar smokers. So, Brian, I know you're a big user of Twitter, as am I. So, where do you think people benefit from using Twitter as far as cigars are concerned?
Well, it's an excellent kind of. It's a little bit more. Boy, it's hard how to put it. It's like a really slow instant messaging these days, or kind of a fast forum. So it's a really slow chat, or a kind of a really speedy cigar forum. But it's a good way to quickly share information between people. And the nice thing about it is it's open ended, so people can join in the conversation. New people get on and they're just starting Twitter, and they can catch up on what's been said, and you know, by seeing your Twitter thread and jump in, and it's really great. And the thing is people that you might not normally chat with too much, you know, can follow, basically can aggregate what's going on with a lot of different people, and you know, every now and then weigh in on cigars. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's just. I see the same benefit to Twitter as I see to, you know, say a cigar forum. I think it's a faster, abbreviated cigar forum, I guess, is the way I think of it. In terms of practical applications, I guess it's I don't know. It's I guess if you're on a mobile device, you know, it might help you to organize things, you know, in a more secure way than, you know, everybody having your phone number to send you a text message. But did you have any ideas on this, the benefits? I know you're a big fan of Twitter polls, so maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Well, first and foremost, Twitter is a microblogging service. Basically, what that means is you're limited to 140 characters, and it keeps the conversations small and fast flowing. And as Jerry says numerous times, you know, Twitter is his his preferred method of communication. You get on there, you drop us a line, and you know, we check it multiple times throughout the day. It's quick, it's easy. We're normally back to you within, you know, a few hours. If not, we're back to you in a day or so. And I think it's a great way to keep communication fast. I know with emails, I get a lot of email, and some of them are very long, and some of them, even if they aren't long, they require a long explanation. So I'm much slower to turn around emails and get back to people, and for that I apologize. But Twitter is great in the sense that it's very fast. I mean, and we talked to a number of people on Twitter. Tom's on, Joe is on from the fan forums, Jerry, Brian, Mike from West Virginia. There's Chris, CD is on there. I mean, a lot of people that we talk to normally are on there, and it's just a great way to keep up a conversation without needing to respond to constant emails, back and forth email exchanges. Everything's sort of in one place. It's much faster than a forum in the sense that it's just free flowing. It just moves, and it's a great place to find cigar deals. Famous is on there, and he'll post whatever they're running specials on, and it's a great way to see what people are up to as far as what cigars they're smoking. There's a Twitter pic service where you can drop a picture of your cigar or whatnot in there, and people can comment and share on it. And it's just a very fast-paced environment that I think is great and a lot of fun, and I think it's very beneficial to cigar smokers simply because you get on there and it's a big collaboration. A lot of people are on there. Everyone's just sort of shooting the breeze as far as what they're smoking, what they purchased at the cigar shop, a deal they found, and it just seems easier and quicker to drop a link in there than it would be to log into a forum, create a new topic, or post a reply and whatnot. So in a sense, I think it's a very fast forum, more or less, and it's fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. I see it as being it's basically it has all the benefits of text messaging without like the charges, and it's great. It's actually great in that respect. You don't want to give out your cell number to everybody. You don't want everybody calling and texting you constantly because you get charged for that. Nice thing with Twitter is people have to kind of adhere to the same brevity. And the thing is when you send something, you're not just sending it to one person, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it is a really good way to communicate quickly. And like you said, I hadn't thought about the aspect of email. It's like you could call people, but that always takes too long. You don't want to. It's the same benefits of text messaging again. It's to the point. It's doesn't lend itself to lengthy discussion. It's and that TwitPic service is really great too. You can instantly share what you're doing right then and there, and people can comment on it. So it's pretty cool. I don't know what more to say about it. It's great. I absolutely agree. I think it's good for anything. It's just cigars is one thing you can use it for, but I mean just in general, the conversation goes all over the place, and it doesn't stick just with cigars. So it's a incredibly valuable tool. If you're not using it, I'd actually recommend starting it up. You have to watch out though; it gets to be addictive.
Alright, well, if you're interested in checking out Twitter, it's twitter.com. Yeah, you can do it right from the webpage. And some of the people you're going to want to follow are Walt W., Jay Cruz, Brian Hewitt, Mike WV, or Mike NWV, CD, CEEDE, Tom Cigars. The list goes on and on. There's several people on there that I talk to, and actually there's a lot. I'm following over 100 people, so it'd be very difficult to list them all. So there's the benefit to Twitter. If it sounds like it's something you'd be interested in, check it out and join in the conversation. And that about does it for this episode of Your Questions, My Answers, episode 39. So, Brian, why don't you take us on out?
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for watching and thank our sponsors, cigarplace.biz, cigarmany.com, and famous-smoke.com. Thanks for supporting us, and I encourage you to go and check their sites out, and give them some business as a way of thanking them for helping make this possible. I think that pretty much covers it. So we'll catch you next time. Long ashes.